Hi friends, today let's try to understand the playwright's API wait concept. So what I mean here, the API and the wait concept is, so the problem statement is like this. When there are page objects, okay, for these page objects there are actions associated. So the actions are generally on click. For example, if you search, right? So if you do login, log out, these are all the clicks that you do upon which a API call is triggered. So at that time, there are old objects which can match the object that you are trying to execute or you are trying to act upon. Okay, so that particular object attributes will still match with the old ones because the API response is not yet come. So in these kind of scenarios, we have to wait, otherwise we will get some unwanted objects. So this can lead to confusion, right? So our test might mistakenly interact with old or unwanted objects before the actual intended elements appear after the API call is completed. So what should we do? So basically we need to wait during that time, right? So in the wait, there is something called wait for timeout and 1000 or 2000 milliseconds. So that is one way. Okay. So but that is not predictable because you don't know when it comes back. And also, when we change the networks, there are chances that it may not work the way we intend. So the example scenario, as I already discussed, the page initially contains some elements, say for example, listed records. Okay, so some 100 records are listed. Okay, now we want to filter out something. So I click something here. So and now it lists something else. So the first element, suppose that I am looking at the first element, okay, will be there earlier also, will be there later also. So before the API response completes, those elements may still exist. So that being the case, we need to wait for the correct objects after this API call. So whether the API call passes or fails, we need to wait. So what is the solution? In Playwright, we can create a promise using wait for response on the API call that triggered on clicking the object, some object. Something like here. So page wait for response, and in the response is a parameter. So response.url.includes API or login. So here I am looking for login API call. Similarly, it can be search, and it can be deactivate, it can be reactivate, it can be expired, whatever the call is. Okay, and the response status is equal to 200. Uh, there are sometimes 201, 202 also can come, but let me restrict it to 200 at this time. So on completion, okay, so when this is completed, when the API call is completed, it gives back the result either 200 or something else. So API response, the promise, when you get the promise, once it is completed, the API response status call can give us the actual response, whatever. So depending on that response, what we can do is, depending on the response, so we can go ahead with testing if it is a successful response, or report the error and stop testing. So as per your whatever the logic you have. So basically, for this list call currently in this example, what you are seeing, so I am doing wait for response. Correct? So after that, this is the call which is triggered. Okay, and once this comes back, this also comes back, this being a sync call. So there is a wait, so we have to wait until that comes back. So once that comes back, we'll get an API response, and the API response's status method will return the status. So this is how we can use a conditional wait, so which is like only upon the completion of the API call, whether it is success or failure. Okay, so it waits until that. So in summary, before API call, page will have few objects, and after the API, during the API call, the objects that we want to use, and there can be objects earlier which can match in terms of attributes. So that will create confusion. So when the wait for API response comes, so it ensures that the correct object is currently available in the count. So that being the case, by applying proper weights, our tests become more reliable and realistic. Thank you for watching.